Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order for June 1st, 2026 at 6 p.m. here at the Town Hall. Any changes with the agenda in order to adopt it? If not, I need a vote to adopt, or a motion to adopt the agenda. All in favor of adopting the agenda as read? Okay. Approve the minutes of the regular meeting, May 18th. Any corrections or additions?
I have one clarification.
Okay,
On the cemetery committee report. Came out saying that I had expressed some concerns about natural burials. Not sure that that's what I said, except certainly wasn't my intention. What I intended to say was that the select board should be aware that green or natural burials are becoming more popular. The implication there being there should be some consideration of discussing policies around that. Or none at all.
okay. Thank you, Peter. Any other thoughts on the minutes? And you've got that correction?
Yeah, I can make that.
Okay, I need a motion to approve the minutes of our regular meeting, May 18th, 2026, with the correction made by Peter on cemetery, during the cemetery committee. All in favor? Or do I have a motion, please?
So.
All in favor of the motion to accept the minutes of May 18th, 2026? Aye. Minutes are approved for May 18th. We have Green Mountain Power here. Thank you for coming again. For the final design for Fisher Hill. So, Tim, right?
Yes, correct. Tim Jones, Green Mountain Power, Dan Austin also on Green Mountain Power. Thank you for having us on the agenda again tonight. I think we were here in March, requesting permission preliminary at the time for a Fisher Hill rebuild project. And I think we also had asked to rebuild Chester Road as well. That's a traditional overhead rebuild. The Fisher Hill job is more of our underground profile that we've been working on in the region in the last couple of years. We worked with Travis, I think today, Dan did actually directly, just going over the last pieces of the design, any of the questions that the town had, the concerns working in the town right away, anything specifically we needed to avoid. I believe we've come to an agreement on just making a couple of more adjustments in our design to be overhead in a couple of different locations where I think one particular location where the town has fabric in the road, so I believe we've been able to work our design around anything that the town needs. Tomorrow night, we're actually appearing in Rockingham to get the approval for the Rockingham side of the project, which goes all the way out to Kingsport Road and all the way out to Upper Bartonsville Road as well. These projects are going to be FY 27 projects, just kind of given where we are in the construction season right now. And where our program is and what we need to get done by the end of this summer. But we figured that we would just sort of seize on the momentum of our appearances and working with the town to get the town's approval on the right of way. And of course, then we'll come back and give you plenty of advance notice when we put this job on our calendar for a future. Not sure if there's any other questions or anything else we need to just resolve on the record here. That's kind of where we sit today.
So this is for 2027 to start. Does the board have any questions for Tim or Dan?
I have one. Could you explain how you're gonna come from the Cambridgeport Road up Fisher Hill?
Yeah, at the
So we're coming up, Cambridge Fort Road, Rockingham side. Coming up to a point near the property line between the Orange State Forest and, John Abel. There's a big culvert there, and we're gonna jump up in the air, we're gonna cross the aerial over the culvert, go back to, then we're going to bury up along the, I guess that would be the. I would call it the northeast side of the road, the Avalt side of the road. Go up there, go past his house a ways. And then we're going to cross under the road, this is before the fabric is installed. And we're going over to the, I guess that would be the southwest side of the road. We're gonna transition there to aerial construction. And then we're gonna go aerial construction for 3 courses up past Twilight Putnam's place, adjacent to the road. Poles. And then we're gonna go back in the ground because we'll be on the area where the fabric was installed, when the road was relocated.
What side of the road are the poles on?
There's one pole on the north side. Well, I'll go back it up. We're gonna come from John Avalt side, cross under the road, go to the south side. And then there's another span going up about 215 feet to the north side of the road. That's the strip of land between the old road and the new road. And then we're crossing again and going over to the south side of the road. And then we're gonna hug the south side of the road for another section about 210 feet to a pole. That brings us to a location where the fabric is no longer in the road. We're gonna return down to that.
So you're going aerial where the fabric is, I remember there was some traffic going alongside the road and up. Close.
Yeah, there was a discussion about that, but once we move away from the device that installs the cable and conduit, which is a big track vehicle with a very large disc, this is the digging 8-inch disc. The topography on the north side of the road was not suitable for that machine to operate. And therefore, we would have to, if we were to entertain that, we would have to build a what we would call conventional 3-phase underground. Individual sticks of 10-foot, 6-inch Schedule 40 PVC glued together. You can go about 500 feet, and we need a device in the ground because we have to pull the heavy wire. That device has to be concrete for the purpose of a pulling eye that's installed. Just way overcomplicated. And the vegetation on the north side of the road during that process would be removed, and it would result in lack of road screening for the property owner.
Then when you get to the point where you're doing the installation, Travis is going to be, I assume, working closely with you and consulted along with the rest of the town.
There. And then, so the draft agreement that we have here that we've worked on over the last, few years, again, just trying to take all the feedback we got from other partner towns, so everything will be in consultation with Travis, so before we start, and we stipulated here, we'll go through and we'll mark and spot out the culverts, and confirm, what culvert gets replaced with what, so forth, whatever, more permitting that you have and so forth, so there'll be sort of that sort of audit, pre-construction audit, just to make sure that we're accounting for everything that we have to cross or go through and whatnot.
They have addressed all of your concerns and.
Yeah, I would like to oversee just a few of the first installs, just to kind of think about. Contractor, absolutely, get them from there. Yeah, just probably check them.
Thank you.
Robbie,
As fire chief in town, I have concerns about access to calls when this is going on. And only we were still able to make some on Stagecoach Road, but it was tight. It was really tight, so.
This type, when the trenching machine is operating in isolation from typically have one lane open, that open, they typically deal with, once we get into full COVID replacements, that's where we start to have a little bit more restricted travel, so. We're always prepared to have somebody get by in an emergency, but in terms of just global communication to the community and our first responder agency would be, we do 2-week schedules for our hard protecting all of the interested parties, so, okay, we're gonna be here. station to station, doing this kind of work, and here's what you can expect, so it's just sort of an open dialogue or, you know.
Well, communication,
Yep,
that's
absolutely.
we have to run up there. Not necessarily do that.
Here,
I'd like to ask a couple of questions that are peripheral, but directly related to the resilience project, which you've overall been working on there.
Could you grab the?
push the button.
Hey, Derek Stevens, and I've got a couple of what I call virtual questions to the resilience program that JMP is doing. One is, I'm wondering if the cable guarded three-phase coming north on Route 35 out of Townsend is going to be connected to the three-phase on Route 35 at Mill Hill Road in Athens. And if that connection is made, will that be another redundant power supply for Grafton? Since line into Athens comes back and tries up down here in Cambridge Park.
We're coming from Townsend and our project from Townsend ends at Reedhill. We also have rebuild from here back towards Athens as well, so we.
So presently, the three-phase line is at no intersection on Route 35 in Athens. And you're coming north out of Townsend. And if you continue on Route 35, the two join at some point.
They're different circuits, maybe the answer is no.
Okay.
But the 74G1 circuit that serves this community has been extensively rebuilt. You know, all the way, not quite back to our substation in Westminster right now, but we do have, so once we do Fisher Hill, that will really sort of complete augmentation of everything here in Grafton.
That was sort of my second question, is whether or not we're being redundantly fed from Chester substation and Westminster now with the connection through Cambridge Port.
Ultimately, we'll have the ability to feed back from the Chester area over here, not everything.
Okay, but for now, we're still limited to 1 feet at a time.
No. There's a feed from Chester, exactly, and there's also a feed from the 74, which Tim mentioned, from the back Westminster Road substation.
Okay,
So we're tying them together. The puzzle is coming together, but the lines have not been built to a point where you can have the immediate switching if we lose one source to the other. That's a piece of the project here that we're working on Fisher Hill.
oh, okay,
So so currently there's a substation in Chester, north of Stone Village. And that is the 11th circuit. The 11th circuit continues through Chester, south on 103, through Upper Barnesville, down Cambridge Ford Road, up over Fisher Hill, intersects at 121.
right,
We're rebuilding that now at this time from the Legion in Chester down to Upper Barnesville. So that's underway at this time. The portion that we're permitting today begins at the intersection of Upper Garden. On the Rockingham side, and goes down Cambridge Ford to Fisher Hill. So that's another link in the chain. So at full build out, the Chester 11 circuit will intersect the 74 circuit down near the intersection of Fisher Hill and 121 where the new bridge was built.
Oh.
So we're gonna have a joining location there. So that would be the place where if you use one food, you can resource from the other. So the 74 and the Chester 11 would intersect at that point.
but right now, if I were to drive from here to Saxon's River, I can see three-phase lines all the way to,
Right.
and that circuit is not functioning.
Oh, it is.
It is, so that is, that's coming from Westminster.
But the circuit Townsend is the EJT7.
Yes, I understand that.
So we're building our way to capability that you're out talking about right now.
Well, the intent of my question is to gain an understanding of how resilience is gradually being created for Grafton. Great. Thanks for the update.
But is it gonna be underground? Cause I've heard different things. I've heard it was underground all the way down before you, like the schoolhouse on Fisher Hill, but then I heard that it changed and it's gonna stop at it. Fell really. Where's it?
Right, so what we're permitting now is, from the town line. On Cambridgeport Road, up over Fisher Road. Down to a point near the intersection of Bell Road.
Yeah.
And then the project terminates there for the time being. The balance of the design for the line going down to 121 is still up in the air. We don't have our permits for it, but we have a couple of plans in mind. What we do know is we do not want to rebuild it, a whole record of cross country.
Yes.
So we're trying to find a little plan to that.
So that'll be a later on phase.
It's a work in progress. It's a work in progress.
I'm also asking for that on fishing. So.
Where do you live? Do you live near Bellwood?
Just up the road, that portion.
Okay.
A lot of them.
Alright.
Any other comments for GMP? I know a couple of summers ago, you talked about the area in Grafton on Parker Hill Road, way up by Lyman's going over to Cambridgeport Road. Is that still on hold or? Cause
Okay, Harvard Hill Road
in Grafton,
in Grafton, yes. Well, that's, I can speak to where it is structurally in the system and it's designed and permanent. And Tim might be able to.
We did get the town's permit, we just haven't, it hasn't gotten the lineup yet. We're
Okay.
trying to focus on a couple of the bigger projects in the area that serve our.
More
customers.
homes. Yeah, understood. I don't want, when Athens goes out, our road goes out. And we seem to be kind of the last folks to get power back. Just questioning where you're at, but thank you. Anybody else? Lisa, sorry.
Yeah, hi, I'm just wondering, about the plans with the double poles. How long are they going to stay, or is the second old pole coming down? Anytime soon?
Yes, ultimately, we are looking for one pole line. It typically takes a few years for all the telecommunications companies to catch up to us. We've gotten quite far ahead of them, but they have been notified, we continue to work with them and.
So that's the
Problem.
veto situation right now?
I'm not sure who all the licensees are out there, but yeah.
Most of you tell me.
We got all of them, possibly Comcast,
Yeah,
so.
okay, so as far as you're concerned, that's no longer on your plate.
We still own the pole line, so we're not absolved of it, absolutely, so our goal is to rebuild what we have. Retire our wire, you can see they've been cut down to the last communication, so we still own that pole line. We'll still get all the calls when anything comes down off of those, but we'll continue to work with our telecom partners to. They've been notified, so they need to work through their schedule to come and attach, and then we can pull all of it, so.
There's some on Fisher Hill that are empty now.
Okay.
It's,
I'm on Fisher Hill as well, so I was told that the conduit you're running underground will accommodate the telecom lines.
Yep, absolutely. Anything that we're building underground, we'll have the accommodation for our comms partners to join us. That's the goal as well with the underground projects, is to get as much underground for everyone as possible.
So do you need an agreement today or you've had,
Actually, I brought
you talked about some adjustments?
Signed it, in case you wanna
So we'll just need a motion to approve that.
Okay, we need a motion to approve the adjustments being made by GMP.
So moved.
I need a second. I need a second.
There.
Thank you, Peter. Okay. So all in favor of the agreement with GMP with the adjustments that they've made? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. We all need to sign.
Yes.
Just send me a copy.
Yes. Yep, that's what you need it to.
Thank you so much. Appreciate all the input from customers. Jackson.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
So we have review proposed fees for subdivision and flood permit and applications. Believe everybody has a copy of that. Any questions or concerns about this? It's a discussion at this point.
Can I ask what the purpose of the item being on the agenda is, or is there some effort here to do this, or?
I think there's a discussion. I know it was handed, Kim, you can help me out with this too. Bill had come up with, some fees. It's been quite a while since our fees have been changed, a long, long time. And in venturing into other, towns, Bill came up with a scenario here of what other towns are having for subdivisions, flood damage prevention regulations, and other regulations. So it's something that the board can ponder and think about. And Kim, I think you can add to it too, if you want.
Yeah, what I did is I went back to 2025. And according to timesheets and Bill Kearns's hours, in 2025, you put in 30.25 hours. Which at $40 an hour as a consultant came to $1,210. Of the $1,210, in fees that were brought in for subdivision was only $380. So that's a loss of $830 at least. This year, we're about ready to finish the year of 2026. He's so far put in a 19.75 hours at $40 an hour, which came to $790 that we paid him as a consultant. And so far this year, we've brought in $200. Grant you, you know, there's a lot of it's not just the application. A lot of his hours were consulting. Whether they ended up subdividing or not. That would be something you'd have to dig deeper, but it definitely was something that he itemizes his timesheets as to what sub and what is flood. And those are the ones I picked out, so he does run it in a deficit.
So this is,
When you just said that he was consulting, that consultant was hourly.
With the landowner, because they're supposed to go to the administrative officer to, you know, figure out, do they need to subdivide, what kind of subdivision, major, minor, boundary line adjustment.
So if he's
And then-
consulting with the landowner, they ought to be paying salary.
Well, no, because he's actually trying to help, like, he'll give them the application, he'll tell them the steps they have to do, then they go to usually a surveyor, and the surveyor fills out all the paperwork. But he still has to do the minutes, he still has to do all the behind the scenes, help with DRB, public notice.
Right, I get that as part, he's doing it for the town, but when he's consulting the land.
Well, consulting as they come to us, just like if somebody came to me and wanted to find their deed. I would help them find their deed. That, and same thing here, you know, if they come to town administrator or something like that.
So this is intended to cover his cost to the town, essentially neutral.
What was that?
Essentially a neutral. Level that, you know, to cover his cost. to the town.
Exactly, and he's found, you know, some will come wanting to do a subdivision, for instance, the Wyndham Foundation, that was quite extensive. And to find out a subdivision wasn't needed. And the reason why you have to research the deed to be able to tell the people whether subdivision is needed, and it was not needed. Nor was it a boundary line, it was actually a legal not a dispute, but an occurrence that happened between two property owners prior to. Something like that just needs to be known, and he finds that stuff.
I guess. Okay, the way I reacted to this was, in line, I think with those comments. I'm puzzled as Robbie points out, who the client is here for whom, his service is getting, paid. Is this the town? Is this the applicant? And I suggested that, receive a closer look. Looking at this, there was some communication last fall, the Morgan headline with Vermont, League of Cities and Towns on this issue. And it feels as if, and the observation was made by the league, that there's a drift here over to providing a lot of consulting assistance at free of charge, and sometimes before, sometimes during the permit application process. I would add to that the steep increases for each one of these permit categories, 3 times, 4 times what they currently are, for permits that are rarely issued. Last year, for example, I communicated with Matt Ciano about this because I was puzzled how these fees would ever be expected to pay for anything, because last year there was one subdivision, the cheese factory, and it's a minor subdivision. My understanding is it wasn't particularly controversial. There were no lot line adjustments. There were no environmental development proposals. There were no appeals. So none of these fees that add up to some pretty robust revenue expectations would have generated a nickel. So there's a little bit of why bother in terms of the experience, unless there was, last year was an odd drought of activity around permits, and an expectation exists for a lot more permit activity in the future.
Can I just comment that there were no lot line adjustments, because one of the researches that needed to be done was one of the lot lines that was not needed. So there, in order, it was an extensive search, but when you go back to talk about when it was brought up to go check into VLCT for consulting, that was more on flood. And we were concerned that he was consulting individuals about flood insurance. And again, I did break out what he proposed or what he charged the town for flood. And he did put in 2025, 42 hours worth of flood research, but that's also was working with flood regs that are changing and haven't been changed in probably 10 to 12 years. Very extensive work. Don't think you need to have somebody for taxpayers to go to for some kind of guidance. We're not looking for consulting and consulting fees, but we are here to guide people one way or another. I mean, you take that away and
Mhm.
who are they to ask? The state?
But, Kim, there's a disconnect though, don't you think, between the fee schedule for permits and this other activity that sometimes doesn't convert into permits, therefore, there needs to be a different source. The relationship between the permit fee requirement and the actual, assistance being provided by the town to the consultant, is pretty remote.
I do think our fees are extremely low. I don't know about doubling, tripling or anything, but I do think we need to be somewhat in line with other towns. Like I said, we've even brought up the fee of raising for our cemetery plots because we're so low compared to other towns. That was, we haven't done it yet, but certainly everybody's in agreement, we need to raise that. I only sell maybe 2 lots a year sometimes.
And that's money that could, increased money that could go for the maintenance of the cemetery.
That can be used in the trustee funds. I just think it's extremely low for the time and effort that goes into some of
Well,
these permits.
it could be like a scale.
It,
So if he's spending 3 hours with this one homeowner. To consult with them on what they need to do. Then there is a fee for that, so they're paying him, so all the taxpayers are not paying for one person to. Get consulting fees,
well,
so if you scale it somehow.
that would be hard, but you can ask the DRB
Is it
what is actually involved in a subdivision. I mean, I was on the planning commission back when subdivisions were done through the planning and we didn't have a DRB. And
Wasn't that?
And they're entailed, I mean, you got the minutes, you got the public notices, the hearings.
No, I understand,
Yeah.
I understand him getting paid, what I don't understand is everybody else paying for. One homeowner to consult with.
Well, what is that, Robbie, what does that amount to?
I don't know.
It's very little, I think, and to get somebody to do these services is next to impossible. And if you do get somebody, you probably ought to leave them alone and let them do it, because I don't think they're outrageous what they're doing.
I'm not saying he is, that's not, you're not getting my point.
I'm getting your point, I know this, it's very little money to be arguing about somebody doing it.
Well, I can just add my personal stuff here. We're doing a subdivision, a simple subdivision in Weston. And I'm up to close to $5,000, which includes the survey, the permits, sending out letters, the abutters, it goes on and on and on. So when I see the fees here, we are very low. And we haven't changed them for years. And then on top of that, if you have to do title searches and if an abutter, questions, then you have lawyer fees. So luckily we're not there, but we're still paying the fees. It's something we should discuss, and I understand what you're saying, Robbie, about a scale. That could be, so many hours, it's this fee, but right now it's a straight fee that he's not changed in years. And we are very lucky and fortunate to have Bill, doing this type of work. And it's not, it doesn't happen all the time, but when it happens, we're very grateful that he's here to do it. So I'm gonna just ask the board, Suzanne.
Thank you. I just wanted to engage with the select board, taking a slightly different tack from a member of the public paying taxes. And I just wanna say that I'm glad Kim did a bit of a cost benefit analysis here, because that gives us something to sink our teeth into in terms of analysis, much more than just a simple benchmark. So thank you for that. And I have only a very simple understanding of how we do our town budget with revenue and expenses, and then how we determine our taxes from there. But aren't these, fees included in the revenue of our budget?
Yeah.
And are those expenses, I know they are included in the expense of the budget.
The subdivision and subdivisions are not. We take a guess as to what we might get for permits when it comes to the weight permits that come in every single year, but not subdivisions are not into the revenue. So it's not subtracted from the expenditure.
So
We don't take a guess as to what we're gonna get for revenue on our weights, on our subdivision. We
So
do
these-
on like permits. No,
So these revenue are ex budget.
this revenue is outside of what we budget.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, I'm glad
because we
that-
never know what we're going to, I mean, we had one.
Okay.
One this year so far.
Well, thank you, because my thinking on this, was we just passed the town budget.
Mhm.
And we approved it because the revenue and the expenses balance out each other. And we have all, and I speak for myself here, experienced enormous inflation this year. My groceries are up 30%, my healthcare bills are up 16%, my gas bills are doubled. And I felt a little sticker shock when I read these fee increases. It's inarguable that there needs to be an increase of that. But what I would suggest to the select board as taxpayer is this. Wait until it's town budget time. Take up the topics of bills, expenses, and the revenues that we generate. And let us spare our taxpayers sticker shocking 4 to 5 times in increases right now.
Well, the only thing, when you think about, there's a number of people, the reason for subdivision, 9 times out of 10 is because they're going to sell that property. So they're going to pay the fee, no matter what the fee may be, just to sell the property. So they're making a profit out of the subdivision besides that.
Yeah, you just made a very good argument. You just made an excellent argument with having the property owner pay the bill.
A light loan, so that they can what, turn around and sell it and make a big profit, a better one.
Exactly, I think that's what Bobby was saying about have the property owner pay the fee. I would just ask us not to take this up right now and face everybody with a huge increase on just one more thing. Sorry if I'm expressing frustration to a larger picture for all of us out there, but I am.
Well, our subdivision is so our son can build a house, because he can't afford a house to buy, because he doesn't have $500 million or even $1 million, and this is Weston. So, we can take this under advisement, look at the fees and, come back.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the board? Yes,
I'm
Mary.
curious which towns we talked to. It just says town.
Mhm.
That would just be some color in the conversation. Thanks.
Anybody else? Thank you for all your comments. Highway report, excess weight permit. We have a structural wood corporation with a weight permit. Do you have it, Peter?
I do, and, this is an outfit from, New York State. And, it is Structural Wood Corporation, and the paperwork is here, and the fee is been paid.
You need a motion?
Yeah.
Okay, can I have a motion to accept the subdivision, the structural wood corporation permit, weight permit? I have a second? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you, Peter. And paving discussion.
Don't you wanna postpone that until the next meeting, because, Jeff from Basil will come out and look at the street and give us an estimate on it, so.
Okay, that's fine.
More accurate for the price.
Yeah.
Okay. So have this on the agenda for next meeting for Basin to look at, what estimates might happen. Correct?
Yes.
Travis, other issues with the town? You gonna give us an update?
Yeah, sounds like crushing will take place late this month, early July. That being said, we've been doing a lot of hauling of our current stock. And it serves us no purpose being a buy at the shop. We've addressed some washes under the guardrail on Fisher Hill. Along the route, we're about to wrap up 4 chimneys ditching. And yeah, handful of trees here and there.
And will Dave start mowing, not weed?
Last week, yeah, and then we'll be out tomorrow.
Okay. Any other concerns from the public on roads, conditions, areas that need looking at after? And thank you, Travis. Any other issues with town highway? Kim?
I don't have the unlicensed dog list, that would have been as of today, that ended for the end of the day, so I'll have that for the next meeting. And then I'll also start sending out letters to those dogs who do not even appear last year nor this year on our dog list, so they'll be getting letters just stating, we know you have a dog. And those same letters are gonna go to Ashley. So she can follow up once I send out those letters saying, you know, if there's evidence of a dog, you need to contact us. Last tax payment was made. We're ready to almost close the fiscal year in another 29 days. We're scheduled for an audit already in August. Don't have the exact date, I believe it's the end of August. Sullivan Powers will be coming out on Monday and Tuesday. So I'll get my 5-page checklist to do. Reminder that the primaries are August 11th, Tuesday, August 11th. And the primaries will be held here in the town office, upstairs here at the election. That is about it. I don't really have much more. Tax bills, grievances, are just beginning. Once I get the timeline from the listeners tomorrow, I'll have a better idea of what kind of a timeline we have for the BCA, that in case we need to hear any type of a BCA hearing. And a lot of times when they go through the grievance process, we get a feeling as to whether or not they're gonna move forward to the BCA. So I'll be updating the BCA as to a timeline for that. And set up a schedule to meet with one of the consultants that we had for the reappraisal. He wanted to do a presentation, just told us, just kind of educate us about how to prepare ourselves.
Right.
So I'll be in touch with BCA relatively soon.
And there's a workshop coming up June 24th,
The 23rd.
23rd.
So there's 4 of us that are gonna attend it, Peter, myself, Michelle, and Wendy. And they're hoping that later on down the road, it'll be probably a webinar. But for now, we're going to West Rutland for that. And as soon as I know, June 30th ends our fiscal year, and at the same time, that's when we get our educational tax rate sent down from the state. At that point, then I think on the July 6th, the first board meeting in July, we'll set the municipal tax rate. And once the municipal tax rate is set, I'll add it with the educational, and on the 7th, start printing the tax bills and sending them out as long as they're postmarked by the 15th of July. We're okay. That's it.
Thanks, Kim, for all you do. A lot. Committee reports, cemetery committee?
I have one thing. Travis, you did a real good job of that road in the cemetery in Holtonville. Unfortunately, just as soon as you finished, somebody had to drive it alone and make it a mess. So if you go up and straighten it out with a rake and you get mulch it and put some stakes in, maybe they won't drive on the loam again. And we get some grass growing, then they can drive on it, but it's too bad people have to do that, but
That's unfortunate.
I just want to comment too, that all the stones that are repaired, have been repaired. That we had, hoped for, and they done, a week and a half, 2 weeks ago.
Have you looked into the fence at the village cemetery?
We haven't, so I think Peter and I need to schedule some time together to do that.
or what about the trees?
Oh, the trees too.
You mean the discussion we had last
Yeah.
meeting with all the trees? No, we don't have a solution, across the board.
I thought we were gonna get contact somebody that does it and have them look at them and see
Right.
what it would cost.
Yeah, I think that's still to be done.
Okay. Travis, did you have somebody in mind for the trees? Cutting?
We have a very big list from the Eastman Wall project that we can.
Yeah,
select.
I know that was mentioned. Is that something you can share with Buzz or Peter?
Yeah, I'd be willing to call and meet with someone if we could flag the trees. Or
Yeah.
paint the trees, I could meet with them and do that.
That would be helpful. Thanks.
Could be a significant number of trees.
Yeah,
Yeah, Eric?
Al Sands is here tonight, and he probably could shed some light on a slightly different way of taking care of trees that is very efficient, and if we did it in a large enough scale, would probably save a lot of money. Sorry to put you on the spot.
If you're referring to game logging techniques,
No,
the crews are taking game logging training, so.
harvester.
Oh. That was just kind of dumb luck, I guess, on my part.
Yeah, so a harvester could be contracted to do.
The neighbors had a log job and, anyways, I talked with, Longview. And they had a harvester right there. And I had a tree I would have cut, I knew it was gonna come out onto the road, out onto the power line. And I could have normally cut it, except it was all rotted and decayed on the back.
Hmm.
And, so the whole wood was all rotted, so I couldn't cut it and make it go where I wanted. So I talked to Mike King, foreman on that crew, and said, when you're there to look at it, they just put the harvester over there and cut it, plopped it out in the field, so. My thought is that's not traditional, what we would think of doing. And I guess if they're gonna do a lot of it, you'd have to find out if their insurance would cover that, because that's not their normal work. But the idea of having a piece of equipment that cuts, grabs a tree and put it where you want it. They can do a lot of work in a little bit of time, so it's just, there's gonna be a lot of trees cut in this town in short time. And doing that with a road crew of 4 people, you're never gonna catch up.
Hmm.
So, gonna have to look at some different ways of cutting.
So the piece of equipment that you're talking about, a harvester,
So it's like an excavator, except instead of having your normal bucket out front, it has a cutting head. And there's 2 or 3 different types, but this particular one they had has a big blade that goes around, like a big skill saw blade. And it just grabs the tree, it cuts it, holds on to the tree, and then the operator tells, pushes it wherever they want. And that work that you guys did out on Holiday, I mean, it took you quite a long time to do it all. Not faulted, I mean, with what you had to do with it, took a while. They could have done all that probably in half a day. Sounds like it's the only safe way to do it. It's gonna be when the trees are dead, for sure. But that's not their normal operation, because working around power lines and so you'd have to find the right contractors that was very.
so would there be tree contractors out there that use this type of machinery? And
Yeah,
that's something that,
usually for heavy logging.
heavy logging,
They're very cool machines, they're very expensive.
Problem is, you can't use that type of equipment in a cemetery.
yeah.
No,
They just can't,
I wasn't suggesting.
well, that's what we were talking
Well,
about.
I know, but
Well,
Eric brought up this, and I didn't come to speak about that.
Oh, thank you for sharing it, because that's good, it's good information to know. I thought, oh, it's not too expensive, we could buy one, right, Travis?
They're very expensive.
I'll go there.
It's worth watching a video of them in operation,
Right,
pretty interesting.
anything else on the cemetery? If not, Parks Committee?
Parks Committee, we met, almost 2 weeks ago. At the Village Park, and Al and Dave and Margot were there, and Meg Gonzalez was there as well. And the fellow from Zach Ventrella from the Longview Forest also came and joined us. And we're talking using chemicals to control and eradicate as best as possible exotic invasive plants. That seemed to be pretty successful. People seem to be paying attention. I had to leave a little early, but it was followed by a proposal which wasn't requested, but it was I think appreciated, to take a section of the park and go after buckthorn, barberry, and euonymus. I've had to practice that pronunciation as I do it. And I have not heard whether the volunteer committee thinks this is a good idea or not. We really haven't connected on that. Notwithstanding, there's some exchange about the availability of funds to pay for it and the timing of it. So I toss back to the 3 of you. Does this sound like something that we ought to support? Well, we first talked about if we could do it manually and not use chemical. And I think that's the goal, to eventually get to that point. But currently there's enough heavy population, because it hasn't been worked for a while. It would be an overwhelming task. There's more than the 3 of us want to take on. So our long-term idea is that you hire to do the work initially, and eventually you get the numbers down to where it could be done with volunteers. But right now it's more than we want to tackle. You had left, and I asked Zach if he could put
proposal together with the idea that then people have an idea what the product is, an idea of potential cost and the idea of work, so that it would be a little proactive to, all right, if we're gonna do it, what would we do? And so here's something to discuss and has a real number to it, timeframes, et cetera. So that's how it came about. There's none of us that are advocates for chemicals, but at some point, if you're gonna be effective, that's the choice you have. And so to us, it's at a point where you either treat it or you just let it take its course.
I agree with that.
You want to comment?
Good, thanks, and committee. Yeah.
Well, I don't think I need that, but be like that. How about part of me, I back because I can't really start in that direction. But,
Turn it on, Sam.
Donna, okay. Suzanne, it's fun to say. There it is, now you're looking at me out. Is what kind of pesticide or insecticide or are you using and how dangerous is it? How dangerous is it?
They're called, the chemicals are called out in their proposal, and they, and I don't know anything about how potent they are, but they're described. So I'm not sure what kind of screen we put that through.
The chemical is an herbicide, which means that it's a plant, it's effective on plants. And there's a couple of ways they could be applied. Some of the bigger Roundup or the bigger
Bigger diameter pieces.
yeah, the bigger ones, bigger buckthorn would be cut and then it would be just painted onto the stump. Then some of the others that are in a large area, they would walk through the backpack sprayer and just spray directly on the leaves, the material. That they're required to it's required to have a licensed applicator. None of us can go and do that work in the public land. It has to be a licensed applicator, which they have to be insured. The product and data sheets is available in the packet that they sent if you want to look up the chemicals. But we worked with Longview before. They're a class act when it comes to their work. How they go about it, so.
Same as I address your point.
Yeah, how long will the park be closed?
Just until the chemical dries. So they would put markers up saying that it's being sprayed. And then once the chemical is dry, it would be permissible to react.
So this was an image.
Forced up the shed or not?
Pardon?
We have a force for doing this shed.
Yes, $900.
Yeah. And the park people is just for a day or so. 3 days. 3 days. There, most chemicals are 3 days.
And is this, how many applications? One? They don't do a reapplication after so many months or just one?
You could call them to have them come back,
Right.
but generally 95% is done in the
It's
first
one.
time.
And the buckthorn will come back, but it's hoped at that point that it's small enough that it can be, pulled out as opposed to having a reapplication.
Is this the whole park?
No,
Only 1.5 acres, right?
it's not, at this point, it's not spread through the whole park. So it's just the areas that so it's not a general broadcast through the whole park. It's just the areas where these species are growing. Which is
primarily, the old walk-in entrance and around the stone walls that are there. And then up behind where the flagpole used to be, and that first, the newer, gazebo, it's in that area there. I have another question, not related to the herbicide. Does anybody pay any attention to the barbed wire there? Directly behind the, well, it used to be my house, now it isn't, and on Townsend Road. I took out about 60 feet of barbed wire when I lived there, because my dogs used to walk there. But it continued all the way down to what a place, I think, close to where Lucia's house is now. And it went the other way, almost to the boundary line. Has anybody approached that problem about taking that out? Well, the area you're describing, the area that you talked about is not parkland. There's a sliver of piece of pie shaped land that originally belonged to the town, and I have no idea why in 1968, for $1, they sold 3 acres to the people that used to own Keegan's house. So that barbed wire, it's along the fence, which is now the field that is owned by the museum. That boundary on the other side of that is not town parkland. That's Keegan's. But isn't that considered, well, they have the Fury Festival there, they bring grammar school children of that time. There, I think it would be wise if that barbed wire was removed. I mean, it's ancient. And it's just a hazard for anybody who walks through there. I don't know if people really know about if that's the park or if that's privately owned or. I do know, I just told you, it's not owned by the town, it's owned by Anna Keegan. And the boundary is, the field that was there is now owned by the museum. But when you cross over that barbed wire you're talking about, you are then on Anna Keegan's land, not on the village park. Now, I haven't been there recently, but there used to be blazes on the tree, even signs, the barrels, very close to that area. And I don't know, I just thought it'd be a good deed to go there and take that barbed wire out. I don't know what it would cost, but I think that's more dangerous than what we're proposing tonight.
This sounds like a conversation amongst identifiable people. And I'll see what I can do to bring those close to me. Kathy?
Anything else? Yes, sorry.
I'd just like to say that as we're talking about invasives. As we're talking about invasives, one of the things we certainly like to do is educate people on that. And the nature of an invasive is it invades, it's gonna take over, it's gonna become more. And there's one huge invasive sitting right outside here, a huge barberry. Barberries are also the tick plants, ticks love them and stay with them. And the other thing I noticed was when I was in the parade, the Memorial Day parade, and went out to the cemetery, there are barberry plants that are being next to several of the graves that are humongous plants, and they are invasive. And I don't know how we deal with something like that, if that was a plant that was planted as a memorial, but now is not a desirable plant to have, so. As you become more and more aware of the invasives around, yeah, you're gonna see them a lot more, which is why we're trying to let these buckthorn and so forth down there. Like a small enough, but I also think we should let Anna give you know there's probably buckthorn on her land too. I don't know. But this is fun.
Yeah.
I'll just
Dave?
add one thing to Sam, what you were asking about, because I was looking into it this afternoon. And that is the two proposed herbicides, one's called Aquamaster and the other one's called Vaseline by Longview. And both those herbicides reportedly have a low toxicity and they don't last too long in the environment. So I think that's pretty good for me in terms of its use. I'm not crazy about it, but I don't think there's any other choice to what Al was saying before, and that is either we take it on head on that way, or we just leave it alone and let it do its thing, and I don't think that's too desirable for the particular invasives that we're talking about up in the park.
How long have these invasive plants been here? 2 years, 50 years, or 100 years? No, they don't. Well, we've already paid Longview to work on this project when I was on the select board, so this has been there probably at least 10 years that we know about. Before that, we had Hayden Lake cutting bigger buckthorn and stump tree. So I would say we have known about it for at least 15 years.
I can underscore this point from having lived in Charlotte for quite a few years and was involved in the refuge there, much bigger parcel of land, much more energy in terms of attacking a wider range of invasives with chemicals done properly. And there was more bad stuff there, and it just we sort of made some progress, and then it would be defeated. It's a very tough battle to win.
Yeah, well, it is a tough battle, and that's also why I asked the select board to take the revenue from timber sales on our town properties and put that money into an account to use and maintain the town land. So instead of taking money and just putting it into the general fund where it's gone, and people could accuse you of cutting timber just to make money, just to lower taxes, it's like, put the money from those revenues back into an account, and it's there for this sort of thing when you have to hire a professional to do the work.
Do they, where you want what they are?
The stuff that Hayden cut, he cut it and it lay there for a long time, and eventually it decayed. I don't think they would, if you're thinking of like taking it away and burning it or something like that, no.
Kim,
So we do have money in the reserve. There's like $9,000 still left for the village park.
Right.
And just for clarification, when we did do the timber sale, we did designate money to go towards certain projects. So it didn't just go into the general fund, we did build a town garage with party for money. You know, so every money we received from the timber sales, the two that we did have a project in sight for it.
Well,
So it
the
didn't
biggest-
just go to the general
the
fund.
biggest timber sale that we did, well, I was, that 17,000 that we got, I was late to the game, just had that set aside, that went back to the general fund as far as I.
Well, it didn't just get absorbed in as just, we had plans for it.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
so.
I
But we got-
I got plans for money too, but that's not my.
No, we didn't, no.
Well, my point is, it just makes sense that when we generate some money on town property, we reinvest it in the town property rather than.
And that would take the town vote at town meeting to do that too.
Well, we've done that in the past,
Yeah, you have to.
but it's only good for one time.
No,
So if we've already done that, where we voted to put the money from the timber sale into an account,
Mhm.
is that only good for that one sale, or is that set as
For
your?
that one sale. And so if you were to set, it's just like if you had to buy something from, if the town wanted to buy property, or if the town generated money from this, you go to the town meeting and you create an article and put it into the reserve, and the whole town votes on, yes, they want that money to go specifically into the reserve. And that's where you got your $9,000, it stays there. No one can use it for anything but the village park. And it takes a town vote to use it for something different. You would have to then go to the next town meeting or a special and say, listen, we've changed our mind, let's use this money for something else. So it's always a town vote. And at least we do have I think it was $9,200 in reserve for you guys right now, and then 500 every year. That 500, if you don't use it, which I don't think anybody's used it yet, for maintenance, that will get absorbed into the general fund.
So I have a question on more clarification on that. So the 500 that was voted for the village park
Mhm.
was intended for maintenance. Does that mean if the road crew goes up there and mows, or Russell goes up there as a contractor and mows, is that the maintenance that 500 is meant for?
No, that 500 would be for like something you want now, if it needed sure pack.
Okay,
Okay, so if it needed sure pack, we would take it out of that maintenance line item. But no, the mowing is something different because we have contracts for that already. So you don't pay for any of the mowing.
that's how I understood it.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
And that's why you still have 500 in there.
well, wait a minute. So I want to talk to you then. The other day when we were up there, we talked about that washout across the trail, and your excavator was coming in and he did some ditching and work. I looked at your ditch work, that was good. Do you intend to do that section where the road was, or where it washed across the trail? Cause we got $500 we spent on that.
Yeah, I mean, I was asked to prevent the wash there,
Right.
and theoretically did that.
But I like what you did, but you didn't fix that part where it washed across the trail, and we talked about it, and I said, yeah, we've looked at it, but we don't have a solution. Do you have one? And so not putting them spot, that I didn't do it, I'm like, do you intend to do it?
I'm confused, do you think that it's still washing or?
No, it is washed out.
Yes, so you're saying fix that wall?
No, my question to you is, do you intend to fix it?
I was not asked to, but if I am asked to, I would.
Okay, could you do it for $500?
No, he does it for his hourly rate.
No, he doesn't.
Did you get my point? Yeah, so if we need to buy some shirt cap and put it on.
That, yes.
Yeah, I'm hearing a pretty uniform support. Is there any reason not to put this agreement in the form of the motion
Sure,
right now?
yeah.
It's $900,
$900.
and we have the 9,000 in the fund there.
We have the 9,000, so what we'll do is we'll pull 500 and then the 400 comes out of the reserve. And you'll see that once the auditors make the adjustments at the end of the fiscal year.
Well, isn't taking care of the invasives, that's a form of invasive maintenance.
Well, that's why I just said we're gonna use the 500
Towards the 900.
towards the 9, and then the remainder will come from the reserve.
Perfect. Like,
What about your shirt?
Yeah. It's just been spent.
All right,
Well, I'll make a motion that we accept the proposal from YU for $900 to treat the invasives. And we use the $500 from the budget and then 400 from the fund.
I'll second that.
Madam Chair,
Any discussion?
may I just say, for the sake of good governance, because we try to hold ourselves to the standard, would you or someone state why we would not allow competitive bid on this? I'm sure there's a good justification, but I think it should be in the minutes, please.
On I'm confused, Suzanne, what you're asking, because I was gonna ask if there's any discussion.
We have a rationale we can use to not go out for competitive bid. And I think we should say what that is for this particular one.
I think it's the amount of
Anything under five.
the purchase of the services.
Right,
And
thank you.
$900 doesn't trip a requirement. And I've also, I think I heard from Al that we've worked with this vendor before and they've done exceptional work.
Thank you.
Yes. Valid point.
So all in favor of the motion? For Longview to, do the treatments for the village park invasives. All in favor?
Question. As I works hand in hand with the nature museum, is that correct, Al? Yeah, great. You do? Yeah, okay. And the barbed wire part is in that little piece of strip that the nature museum owns. So I think you could probably cooperate with the nature museum, since they're the ones that bring kids up there all the time, for different things. And I would like somebody to reach out to them and see if that barbed wire can be removed. Either they do it, or the town park does it, or we do it, both of us do it. And I think that if there's any money to be spent, I think it'd be well spent removing the barbed wire. Thanks.
How much does that $900 do in the park of invasive species?
What's that?
How much does that $900 do in the park for that invasive species?
There's a map here, so.
There's a map that is sent everybody.
Well, it doesn't do it all. It doesn't.
It's
It does the area that's been,
There's a section.
that it has been observed in. So they did a walkthrough and picked out the area where the most dense invasives were, and this is to treat that area.
But there's still some left.
I gotta believe you can walk every place and find some.
So I'm sure the adjacent landowners also have it.
I am sure, but we're not responsible.
I understand that, but if there's more to be done, I would think you could spend more than $900 and take care of it all at the same time.
Are you suggesting that the town pays to do neighbors?
No,
No.
what's left in the park that you're not doing?
This is doing what they have currently identified. If we wanted to walk all 56 acres and do a more thorough search, we may find more, but it's. He walked through, we walked through with him and said, this is the area that we see that needs to be treated, and so it covers that area. I don't know yet.
Were you suggesting more area?
No,
Could be covered.
I'm like $900 not very much, but there's more there, why aren't we doing it?
Well, it's what we know about right now.
That's all you know about that.
Yeah.
And we do pull it as we go. I do the trails once a month. And if I see barberry, I pull it and hang it upside down in the trees, because that's. We used to, it doesn't continue. If we see euonymus, we do the same thing. When euonymus, yeah.
But this is the concentration of it, it's not individual plants scattered out, so it's different.
We just need to vote on the motion.
Right, thank you. All in favor of the motion? Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, committee, for all your hard work.
Anything else on the highway committee? I think we've discussed. Personnel committee, by July 1st, we should have interviews done way before that. And I know we did a little research on the interview sheets with VLCT, Morgan. searched out, so. And the personnel committee can get together with you, Travis, and go over that, any changes in those report, the interview sheets. And we'll go from there. Any July 2023 flood update, anything, Morgan?
No, I didn't.
The burnout marks on Townsend Road, a follow-up. You know, we did reach out to the sheriff's department and we have not heard back. Morgan, do you want to talk about a little bit what you did?
Yeah,
Use the microphone, thank you.
I spoke with, or I sent two different emails to the sheriff's department. With specifics just about the reports that I had received. And I haven't gotten any response back from them, but I have seen deputies throughout town. Somebody was here today and I think a couple times last week as well.
You also had sent the board, there was another issue along with, speeding and speed signs.
There was one. Are you talking about the speed limit sign?
Yes.
Yeah, so Travis looked at it, we don't have the sign currently in stock, so I just ordered new signs for that to be hung. I think the turnaround on that is pretty quick, so we should get those here soon.
Oh, I was thinking more of the ones that, the electric ones or
Yeah.
the solar ones.
Yeah, before I went on leave, we had talked briefly about having it's like one of those trailers on the outside of the village, but I haven't heard much about that either. I can follow up with it again, but so we have to talk about placement of that and how long we want that up. It would just be one of those like radars that presents the speed that the vehicle is traveling.
So there's not been any report back from the sheriff's department in terms of enforcement with the blowouts?
No, I haven't received anything back yet. I don't, if you have time, I would recommend maybe calling our office and seeing if you can push a little bit harder.
Yeah, I'm just curious what other towns are doing. I don't know if there's much to do other than.
I know other towns are dealing with the same concerns.
Any other comments? Suzanne?
Yeah, thank you. As you know, I sent a letter to the select board.
Mm-hmm.
What I would ask for in terms of next step would be for the sheriff to come to one of our select board meetings. Because I think our choice here is to either accept what's going on or to think about how risky the situation is for our town in terms of public safety and also in terms of the road defacing that we have here. And particularly because we're entering a season where there will be a lot of pedestrians on our streets. And many of these burnouts have crossing of double yellow lines as part of what they're doing.
Yeah. Yep.
And I know that this is somewhat of an intractable problem. But it seems to me that as a town, if we hold the value that says we don't want our public property treated this way and we want to care about the safety of our residents and our tourists, that even if we just show interest in it and we have the sheriff present, it might be in and of itself a deterrent.
And it comes down to an enforcement and visibility of the sheriff's department to be here. And we share only with other towns, we have 12 hours, that would mean we'd have to increase our contract. Because if there's an incident in Townsend or Brattleboro, that's where they go. Because they have a large contract with those towns. I'm talking Brattleboro right now. And sometimes they have to leave Grafton to go there. So it would mean an increase in our budget if we want more enforcement. It's the only way we're going to get things to stop. Just in normal driving, I've encountered and my husband's encountered people, just normal driving. They're not doing blowouts. They're on the other opposite side of the road. They love that yellow line. So it's disturbing, it's frustrating.
Yes, Kathy, I share your concerns about that too. The thing that I would suggest is that if we have a warned meeting, the sheriff is going to attend. And burnouts are on the agenda. I cannot bring up this topic at MKT at Phelps Farm about getting the same rise up that you're just expressing yourself. And people might be able to narrow the time frame that the sheriff should patrol, or might be able to, I don't know. I'm not saying this is the biggest problem the town has, I'm just saying that.
No, it's a serious problem.
Thank you.
And until there's a serious accident or another fatality, then something's gonna be done. I want something done now, and I've had that discussion with you several times.
Yes.
Kirk, you had your hand up, and then I'll go to Robbie.
Yeah, so the only way is the sheriff can address this. We've got to just get a plate number. Did you get a plate number? No. Get the plate number so they know the car and they know the person like in seconds. And then they can do something. Otherwise, there's 3 or 4 black pickups out there. 6 or 8 other cars that, you know.
Thank you, Kurt.
Yeah, the only problem with that is that anybody can get a plate number and say, was that truck? And it really needs to be enforced with the police seeing that happen. If you see it happen, you can call it in. But the time travel to come here, lots of times, they can't do it. They gotta be here when it happens. That's the frustration. Robbie.
That's my question. I know we contract certain amount of hours.
12 hours.
12 hours.
Oh, 14, sorry, 14.
14
We
hours.
increased it to
Okay.
2 hours.
So. Does the sheriff decide what hours they're coming here, or does the town request certain time?
We've called several times. I know Morgan has called, especially with the speeding and times, and they've done that.
I mean, because that's usually like when I see them in town, it's like 9:30, 8 o'clock. If they were here at 8 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night, that might make a difference. I don't know.
No, I hear
don't
you.
know when it's happening, but I always see them like 8 o'clock in the morning or 9 o'clock in the morning. And then they end up getting parents taking their kids to school, they're running a little late. And
We have told them in the past, certain areas that kiddos are, either doing the burnouts or they're doing burnouts once the dirt roads have been, graded. The village park is another area we like to go, or the fire pond. So they're aware.
yeah, I think it's just the communication.
Excuse me?
I did just receive the contract to renew the contract for next fiscal year, and, so maybe if you're okay with it, we have him come at the same time that we talk about approving that contract.
Yep, and I think we need to also, the board needs to think seriously about the number of hours we do have and increasing those hours.
I would also think that the level of communication from the sheriff's office to the town sounds like it may need to be improved. And it's very interesting how when they come to talk about the contract renewal, there seem to be promises made that aren't kept.
I hear you, but I think because it's such a short window of time that we have, they're obligated to go to other towns. That's what they've told us. Because they have bigger contracts.
I don't see how that keeps them not replying to Morgan's outreach twice.
I can make it a point to talk to them directly, to the chief.
Thank you.
Al?
Just kind of share a story that's
Sure.
appropriate for what this discussion is. When I was on the board, we had an individual come to us and make a request that we increase hours for the police because people keep going by this person's house at a high rate of speed. So we did, like you just said, we increased the hours and it wasn't a lot, but we tried. About 6 months later, I get a personal letter from the same person that made the request saying how he didn't think it was fair that he got a speeding ticket. Taking his wife to the doctor's appointment.
Yeah.
Just keep in mind that when they do come and talk and you do decide to change, if you should change, the budget was voted on already in March.
Yeah.
For this upcoming year, the voters voted.
What is that? Can you refresh your memory?
Just that when they do come to talk about their contract and you decide to change it, we've already voted a budget in March
Okay,
for this upcoming year.
okay, great,
So
thank you.
keep that in mind.
Yeah, I think, yeah, go ahead, sir.
I have a quick comment for the select board. If we had the sheriff, you think that would be enough? And it was publicized. The sheriff says he's gonna address this. At the same time, does anybody know what kind of ticket it is? If he will get caught, is it reckless driving? Is it? I don't know.
So we checked with the VLCT on that. And there are at least two violations that they can issue tickets for. One is called negligent operation of the vehicle. The other is called damaging the surface of a road. So already there's actual legislation because people do this.
My point is that the sheriff was there. And he gave us a little spiel. And we put down that the ticket could be the more serious one. And if there was a ticket given, it was $135 or $145 or something to that effect. It would be out the grapevine about 10 minutes after the sheriff left, left. I think that would do a lot, even though the sheriff is not gonna give us any more time. Just the notion that he could catch it, and if he did, it's $135 and maybe, I don't, they have points on their license in Vermont. Yeah.
Yep.
Some people from
Okay,
speeding
so,
alone.
but no, it might affect your insurance too at the same time.
Mhm.
And I think that would maybe curtail something will think twice about doing it.
Yes.
Does at least do any kind of social media search to see if there's a forum that they're taking videos of this turnout and putting them on, and it's become kind of a, they want to show off, because often when people do things like that, they're trying to memorialize what they're doing. So I don't know if the police do that, or if there's a way that you can actually do a social media search to see if.
On social media.
What about surveillance cameras out there?
It used to be looked at as social.
I mean, like game cameras?
Something temporary.
It's really, we have cameras here, we can't look, we can see them doing it, but we can't get plate numbers.
No.
Mm. Um. got a question for Kirk. On the marks that folks make with the blowouts, burnouts, can you tell what the tires are?
No.
Yeah, I'll talk to Russell record.
You can. But if you have a student or a young driver or someone that, you know, you're the parent, can you tell that they're burning out their tires and they're getting tires all the time? I mean, come on, what are they doing? I think if you have the sheriff here with any kind of conference or safety workshop or whatever, I think young adults should attend and parents should attend. I know the community members here are here because they're concerned, and I'm very concerned about the safety issues. And yes, damaging our roads. It's a concern. Okay, I think we need to move on. Development Review Board appointment for a vacancy. Do you want to speak to that, Buzz? Oh, you're not on the DRB. Oh. There's nobody here from DRB. Okay.
I can just mention.
Go ahead.
One of the DRB members had moved away, so there's now a vacancy. And I was notified that by Matt Sienna, who's the chair.
Okay. Did he give you any?
He gave me one recommendation of Clayton Thompson.
Okay.
But I think it might be wise if we advertise the vacancy and see if anybody else might be interested.
So do you do that, Morgan?
I could work with Matt to get wording on what he'd like to be posted.
Okay.
If I could add to that, that's a great idea and pump it up some. Just putting a one-liner and saying there's an opening for on the development agreement doesn't sing. But something about criteria, something about, however the position should be promoted as much as just listed.
And what the position is. I mean, what's it requires?
Yes.
What it requires, yeah. Any other comments? Yes.
Back in March, there was quite a bit of discussion at the select board about vacancies in town offices, advertised, described, notified. And as I recall, there was consensus on the board that no one should ever be just appointed to a town office without that vacancy being advertised, so that townspeople are aware it was available. So, I'm a little concerned to see this item on the agenda. Looks like somebody was going to be appointed and none of the townspeople knew that there is such an opportunity. So I'm glad to hear that now there is a plan to advertise this position with criteria and a job description.
I have no problems with that. 250 celebration streetlight banner.
You skipped 11.
Oh, I did. Appoint town administrator for VLCT voting delegate.
That's just for, they have an annual meeting and, representatives from each town typically go to it. And, I planned on attending, I would just need to be authorized to vote on behalf of Grafton.
We need a motion for that.
Yes, please.
Have a second? That's good. Any discussion? There's a motion on the floor for appointment for Morgan Wilbur to be our delegate. VLC for voting. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Now 250 celebration streetlight banner week west. Is anybody here to know anything about that? I know Cheryl Fisher was in to get copies of the flags that were gonna go up on the, I think the telephone, was it the lights?
I think so. Anna mentioned this to me, but I wish she was here to speak on it. All I know is that they have little banners. She said it's like an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper that they just wanted approval to put on a few of the poles that don't have flags.
Okay. I don't have a problem with, does anybody else have anything to discuss about this part of the 250 celebration?
We have to make a formal statement about it.
I think she just wants to know if she can be approved to put them up and then take them down after. I don't know if they're gonna leave them up. Is it just it's paper, right? Cause she was
Yeah, I
running them off the other day while I was here.
think it would just be for the day.
The day of the parade. So, do you want a motion on that?
Let's do a motion just to be safe.
I'll make the motion for the 250th celebration streetlight banner from the parade committee.
I'll second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Any other business? Public comment? Oops, sorry, Eric.
Yeah, you've probably seen it in the American News today. And probably seen it in email, but I would like to reiterate that the planning commission is going to be hosting a staff member of Wyndham Regional Commission to speak at our next planning commission meeting about the regional plan. And in particular, those parts of the regional plan that are different than the old plan. And we are hoping to not get tied in knots about Act 181 issues like we did before. And we probably can't exclude those kind of questions, but that is not the intent of this presentation. At some point, the town, I believe through Suzanne and myself representing the town, will have to vote on acceptance of the regional plan. And so we want to make sure that the select board in particular knows what we're going to be representing. So
Is that coming up next week, June 9th?
so either in person or virtually on Zoom, please pay attention to it.
Okay,
Yes.
just a comment, I know I'm not supposed to talk directly to Eric, but the meeting that he referred to when they talked about the regional plan and then it got dominated by 181. I think people I came to that meeting thinking that was the purpose of the meeting, was to get answers for 181. So perhaps it got billed incorrectly, maybe the grapevine didn't deliver the message correctly, but I know that's why I came here, because I thought I was getting answers about.
I'm not saying that the meeting was inappropriate or not productive. I'm just saying that the other part of the equation being the changes to the regional plan haven't been sufficiently conveyed to the public, and that's what we're trying to do this time.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Eric, for bringing it up. Public comment. Suzanne.
Andy, I know I'm a frequent flyer. So we had a magnificent Memorial Day celebration here in Grafton, Vermont. And I just wanted to, I'm sure other people are probably feel the same way. First of all, compliment Cheryl Miller for our leadership of this Memorial Day celebration. And the cemetery looked great. Buzz marched in the parade, spoke at this celebration, and our own Michelle Dollar's son, Ryan, won the Good Citizenship Award which was really, very wonderful to see him accept that award. So I just wanted to acknowledge all of the preparation that went into that, really marvelous event.
You left out Sid, you marched, as well.
What's that?
Sorry, say,
You left out Sid, you marched as well.
Sam,
Yeah.
thank you, Buzz. You're sitting right.
It was good event, so thank you.
And I'll just add on June 9th, 5 o'clock at the Grafton School is the 6th grade graduation, so community is invited. Any other public comment? Hearing none, our next regular meeting is Monday, June 15th at 6 p.m. here. And I need a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?